Why would a mother name her son Pain? Why would God allow such a name to echo through history, remembered in sacred scripture for all time? The story of Jabez begins in the genealogies of Judah, hidden like a pearl in a sea of names. The chronicler wrote, "And Jabez was more honorable than his brothers. His mother called his name Jabez, saying, 'Because I bore him in pain.'" 1 Chronicles 4:9. That was all the record said, but heaven had written more. In the hills of Judah, among families returning from exile, a woman travailed in hard labor. Her cries echoed through the night. Death hovered near, but life prevailed, and when she held the newborn in trembling arms, her tears were both joy and sorrow. "I will call him Jabez," she whispered, "for I bore him in pain. It was not a curse, it was truth." Yet even truth in the hands of God can become prophecy. Stay tuned as we uncover the hidden depths of Jabez's remarkable journey. A man whose story is told in only 2 verses, yet whose prayer reshaped destiny itself. This is not just the story of someone born in pain. It's a divine revelation of how God turns sorrow into strength and limitation into limitless blessing. Come with me as we explore the story of Jabez, looking at the possibility of what growing up was like, while expanding naturally around what's biblically possible, culturally accurate and spiritually profound. As we walk through his journey, you'll see how one desperate prayer became a doorway to transformation, how honor rose from hardship, and how God still answers those who cry out to him today. If you love Bible stories that stir your spirit, strengthen your faith, and reveal the heart of God in powerful, life-changing ways, make sure to subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss a moment of this incredible story of hope, prayer, and divine favor. Jabez grew under the shadow of his name. In Hebrew, Jabez sounds like etzev, pain, sorrow, or grief. Every time someone called him, it reminded the family of suffering. In ancient Israel, names carried spiritual weight. They spoke destiny. Abraham meant father of nations. Jacob became Israel, but Jabez, that meant pain. Children mocked him. Neighbors avoided him. "His name brings misfortune," they whispered. Yet in the quiet of his heart, Jabez began to talk to the God of Israel. He didn't yet know that his pain would become the seed of his prayer. Each harvest season, the villagers brought offerings to the temple. The Levites prayed blessings over the people. "May the Lord bless and keep you." But when Jabez approached, some priests hesitated. "His name is sorrow," they murmured. "Let him stand aside." He returned home alone that day, head bowed, tears staining the dust. Yet even then he whispered, "Lord, if you see me, bless me not because I deserve it, but because you are good." That prayer, faint as a sigh, reached heaven's ear. He remembers the stories of Jacob wrestling with God, of Joseph sold into slavery, yet rising to glory. "The God of Israel writes straight with crooked lines," he said. And young Jabez began to believe that maybe, just maybe, his name didn't have to be his destiny. Jabez grew to be a student of wisdom. He listened to the elders in the city gate as they recited the Torah. He loved the words of Moses, "You shall be the head and not the tail, above only and not beneath." Though poor, he was diligent. Though mocked, he was kind. His name meant pain, yet his hands brought healing to the fields, and his advice brought peace among disputing neighbors. People began to say, "His name is pain, but his presence brings rest." Honor was beginning to grow in secret. When there is a disaster in the land or in his family, many blame Jabez. "It's his name. He brings curse," they shouted. Jabez fled to the hills and prayed with tears, "O God of Israel, if I am a curse, make me a blessing. If I bring pain, let me bring healing. Bless me indeed." That was the night everything changed, not in thunder or fire, but in a still, quiet assurance that God had heard him. The words of his prayer became eternal. "Oh, that you would bless me indeed, and enlarge my territory, and that your hand might be with me, and that you would keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain." 1 Chronicles 4:10. Each phrase revealed a heart reborn. He didn't ask for wealth. He asked for blessing indeed, God's favor, not man's applause. He didn't ask merely for land, but for enlarged territory, the ability to do more good. He didn't trust his own strength. He pleaded, "Let your hand be with me." And he ended where he began. "Keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain." A man once born in pain now prayed never to cause it again. And Scripture says simply, "And God granted him what he requested." After that prayer, life didn't explode in miracles overnight, but peace came. The drought ended. His fields began to yield. The people noticed, "The Lord is with Jabez." His borders expanded not through conquest but through favor. Families asked to live under his protection. Merchants traded through his land. Even enemies sought his counsel. He never lifted a sword, but God enlarged his territory through grace. In ancient language, the hand of God symbolized divine presence and power. For Jabez, this meant wisdom, protection, and supernatural strength. When raiders threatened Judah, Jabez led his people to pray instead of fight. A sudden storm scattered the enemy before they reached the gates. People said, "The hand of the Lord is upon him." Honor replaced suspicion. The outcast had become Judah's intercessor. Jabez's integrity became legendary. He refused bribes, shared harvests with the poor, and never spoke evil of another. When the elders of Judah needed a judge for disputes, they called for Jabez. "He is more honorable than his brothers," they said. The phrase would later be recorded by the chronicler, marking him forever in the annals of Israel. Honor was not inherited. It was earned by faith and obedience. Centuries later, the book of Chronicles mentions the families of the scribes that dwelt at Jabez, 1 Chronicles 2:55. Scholars believe that Jabez founded or inspired a community of teachers, men devoted to studying and preserving the law. His name became associated with learning and spiritual devotion. Thus, the man once known for pain became known for knowledge. As years passed, the blessing God gave him multiplied. His flocks increased, his vineyards thrived, and his influence grew. Yet Jabez never boasted. When pilgrims passed through Judah, he welcomed them with food and shelter. He taught them to pray to the God who hears. One traveler recorded, "There lives in Judah a man whose name means sorrow, yet whose life brings peace. Surely the favor of Yahweh rests upon him." The elders tried to give Jabez a seat among Judah's rulers, but he declined. "Let others lead. I will serve," he said. His humility made him greater than any title could. People began to measure righteousness not by lineage, but by likeness to Jabez. He became living proof that God exalts the humble. Children gathered at his house to learn to pray. He would tell them, prayer is not about asking for much, but about trusting much. He taught them the words that changed his life. "Bless me indeed. Enlarge my territory. Let your hand be with me." Generations later, prophets would echo his pattern, seeking God's presence before his power. Some of his relatives grew jealous. "Why should Jabez prosper while we struggle?" they murmured. When disputes arose, he did not defend himself, but prayed, "Lord, keep me from evil." His calmness shamed his enemies more than any argument could, and each time trouble came, blessing grew larger. The territory of Jabez stretched from the valley of Elah toward Hebron. His lands became known for peace and fertility. Travelers said, "This is the portion the Lord has blessed." His leadership turned barren ground into a sanctuary. People settled there, calling it the land of Jabez, a symbol of divine favor. Though not a prophet or king, Jabez's life quietly influenced Judah's faith. His prayer model shaped early worship practices seeking blessing, guidance, and protection. Centuries later, rabbis cited his name as an example of answered prayer born from humility. Even in his last years, Jabez saw miracles reign in drought, peace in conflict, healing through prayer. When asked the secret, he smiled, "The hand of God never left me." He knew that true blessing was not wealth or fame, but the nearness of God. Sensing his time had come, Jabez prayed once more, O Lord, you have blessed me indeed. Let my descendants walk in your ways, and may my name remind them that you can turn sorrow into strength. He closed his eyes in peace. The man born in pain died in honor. Years later, the scribes recording the genealogies paused when they reached his name. It did not fit among the ordinary list. Here was a man not remembered for his father's house or his wealth, but for his prayer, and they wrote, Jabez was more honorable than his brothers. That one line became his eternal testimony. Jabez's life foreshadowed another man of sorrows, Jesus Christ, who bore the world's pain to bring blessing to all. Just as Jabez prayed, keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain, Jesus prayed. Deliver us from evil. Both turned suffering into salvation, the eternal lesson. The story of Jabez, though only 2 verses long, teaches eternal truths. Pain does not define your purpose. A sincere prayer can change a destiny. God delights in enlarging the lives of those who honor him. Blessing begins with surrender, not striving, and no name, no past. No pain is beyond God's redemption. Heaven remembers Jabez not for how he started, but for how he prayed. And still his voice echoes through time, oh, that you would bless me indeed. And God still answers. And so, the story of Jabez ends not with thunder, nor with the rise of kings or the fall of nations, but with a quiet victory written upon the heart of one man who dared to pray differently. He was born in pain, labeled by sorrow and forgotten by history until heaven remembered his cry. Jabez didn't change the world by power, wealth, or warfare. He changed it by faith, by believing that God could take what was broken and make it whole again. His life whispers a truth that still echoes today. You don't have to be known by your pain. You can be known by your prayer. So when life names you after your struggles, when the world defines you by what hurt you, remember Jabez. Remember that one prayer lifted in faith can rewrite a destiny, because the same God who granted Jabez his request still listens, still blesses, still enlarges territories, still places his hand upon ordinary lives and turns pain into purpose. Your story isn't over. He's just waiting for your prayer. Questions for reflections. What part of Jabez's story spoke most deeply to you? Have you ever prayed like Jabez, asking God to enlarge your life beyond your limits? What pain or label do you need God to transform into a blessing today? Do you believe one prayer can truly change your destiny? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to read how this story touched your heart. If this story stirred your faith and reminded you of God's power to turn sorrow into strength, don't forget to subscribe to Joint Heirs Bible Stories. Like this video, comment your reflections below, and share it with someone who needs to hear that God still answers prayers today. And as always, stay tuned for more powerful Bible stories that reveal God's heart, his hope, and his unfailing love. This is not just the story of Jabez. It's the story of anyone who dares to pray, oh, that you would bless me indeed.